Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has arrived in Islamabad, marking a key step ahead of anticipating diplomatic engagement. He is accompanied by a delegation with talks expected to focus on ongoing regional development and efforts to revive dialogue with the United States. The visit comes as Pakistan continues its role in facilitating engagement between Washington and Tehran. We are joined by Brigadier retired Ahmed Saeed. What's your analysis on this? Hello, Ahmed.
Yes, I can listen to you right now.
Yes.
Okay, the situation is quite evolving at this particular moment, and the visit of Mr. Araghchi, the Prime Minister of Iran, to the Pakistan, it speaks of that they are now very much serious about it, and there was an impression created at different forums that perhaps there is some kind of a stalemate into the dialogue between Iranians and the Americans. But backdoor, Pakistan was engaged with both the Iran and the Americans, and they were trying to build a kind of impression or a kind of environment in which both the countries can sit together and can continue with the dialogue, especially the second round of the dialogue. Mr. Araghchi's visit to the Pakistan speaks of that they are serious. Whatever reservations Iranians had about the blockade which was created by the Americans in the Strait of Hormuz, now it's going to be like close to the solution. So this visit speaks a lot, especially when the White House also has committed that the senior officials will be coming from the American side maybe tomorrow in the night, on Saturday night. So I think when the Foreign Minister of Iran will be coming back from the Moscow, I suppose that there are conditions set now that they can meet again here in Islamabad for this senior level dialogue. And in this, if the senior leadership of both the countries, they sit, so I'm sure that all the reservations which both the countries have will be close to the resolution by the serious efforts made by the Pakistani military leadership and the political leadership. So let's see. We should be cautiously optimistic because ultimately the decision has to be taken by the two countries, not the Pakistan. But yes, Pakistan has done a lot, and from facilitation we have entered into the zone of mediation now, and we can see that 3-4 days back, Field Marshal and Mohsen Naqvi Sahab were there in Iran, and they met with all tiers of the command, especially the commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards also. So, but after that, there were some kind of hostile statements by the Trump administration, especially President Trump himself, which basically created the mistrust environment again, which I think is to be taken as a non-starter. And I think the first thing which Pakistan should talk with both the countries, that not to issue any hostile or offensive statements, any dismissive statements on part of any of the party would result into further widening the gap or the increasing the mistrust. And you remember, this mistrust has been there for the last 47 years now. It has taken the shape of a glacier, and melting the glacier will take definitely some time. There are certain convergence also, there are certain divergence also. So it's a long process. We should not be very optimistic. At the same time, we should not be pessimist also. But yes, we should be looking at all this process through reality-based lens, so that we carry out the analysis as per the reality. Otherwise, the people make wrong hopes, and when the wrong hopes do not meet the actuality, then the people get discouraged also. But anyway, I'm quite hopeful that because of the initiative taken by the Iranians, the Americans also responded in the same coin. And in the next 2 to 3 days, I'm sure that our diplomacy, both on the part of the military diplomacy and civilian diplomacy, something concrete would come out. So let's see and pray for the hope, pray for the good.
Of optimism when it comes to the second round of talks. So I want to ask, there are reports that Kushner and Witkoff have been engaged for months in discussions with Iranian officials on possible agreement. Do you think that because of this there could be a breakthrough in the agreements, in the deal?
The engagement with the Witkoff side,
yes,
is like Iranians, they don't look at them with all that kind of optimism, because they have stating about the Israel very much into their favor. So I don't think so that this could have brought the desired result. That's why earlier also, when the second round was scheduled before the culmination of the first ceasefire, the Iranians, they basically declined. They asked for Vice President J.D. Vance to come up and discuss with them, when the President Trump did not allow the Vice President. So then presence was not welcomed by the Iranians. So still, this needs to be seen that why Witkoff and the other person is in here, the
Kushner.
Pakistan, especially the Secretary of State for the war. So if this situation continues, I think the trust deficit would continue to remain there, and the negotiations would be on a tougher ground. And I don't know what type of result would come out, but if the J.D. Vance was there, who is anti-war, is known for being anti-war, perhaps the results would have been much positive. But it still needs to see that what kind of direction this second round would take.
Right. Mr. Ahmed, you right now mentioned about the hostile sentiments. There shouldn't be any hostile sentiments when it comes to both the sides. But then again, Trump is very adamant on the fact that Iran should not have nuclear weapon. So how do you read that?
As far as the nuclear weapons are concerned, Iranians have already denied that they had never, tried for having nuclear weapons. The only issue which is now left, I think this 95% issue of the nuclear weapons has already been solved, because the IAEA chief, that means International Atomic Energy Agency chief, has also said that Iran was never onto the course of making nuclear weapons. Yes, the only thing which is left to be decided is that the highly enriched uranium, which is like 20% and more enriched uranium, has to be taken away by the Americans as per their demand. But I don't think so that sovereign country like Iran, which a history of like over 2,000 years, would ever budge to this demand of the United States. Yes, they can do that. The highly enriched uranium can be placed under the check, balance and safeguards of the IAEA, or maybe a consortium of 2 to 3 different countries on which both the parties agree to have them in the loop. So I think it's the issue of nuclear weapons is already solved. This is just for the optics, which is used by the Americans, so that when it gets solved, they have a better edge, or they have better narrative for the locals there or the American public. But the actual issue is now the ego with regard to the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz is which was open before the war, now closed, and the Iranians have also started applying their sovereignty onto it, and
Yes.
they have started collecting the tax also. Now this goes against the Americans' stature, and they treat Europe, and especially the Russians and the Chinese, and all those, the NATO, especially, and the Quad, they all are criticizing the American policies for making this Strait of Hormuz close. So this is like now a point of ego now for both Iran and the Trump. I think when the Trump will allow or the ships to move,
The blockade,
and then
exactly.
carries out the sidestepping with regard to opening of the blockade, the Iranians reciprocate in the same coin. So this kind of actions have to be taken by the two parties. Otherwise, trust deficit will continue, and no party will reach to any kind of peace agreement in near future at least.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed, for being with us and giving us such deep analysis of the situation.